The offices of South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol have been raided as part of a probe into his brief declaration of martial law. President Yoon is the subject of a criminal investigation, though he's not been arrested or questioned by authorities. Flowers bearing messages of support appeared outside his office after the raid. Meanwhile, Parliament has been told that Kim Yong-Hyun, who was defense minister at the time of the martial law decree, attempted suicide after he was arrested on Sunday over his alleged role in the crisis. The opposition says it plans to introduce a new bill to impeach the president after a previous vote was defeated. North Asia correspondent James Oaten says the fallout has led to near tragedy.
Well, this has certainly been a dark turn in the fallout of President Yoon's declaration of martial law that he made last week. This was a stunning and shocking, albeit short-lived declaration of martial law. But now we're seeing this long fallout in South Korea that is claiming many senior scalps. As you've mentioned, the former defense minister, Kim Yong-Hyun, he obviously lost his position as a result of this and has since been arrested and jailed. He has apologised for his role, and really what's coming out is that he allegedly told the president that he should enforce martial law. So it was his recommendation that started this saga. But the tragedy or near tragedy was confirmed this morning when corrections officers told a parliamentary inquiry that Mr. Kim, the former defence minister, attempted to take his life, but ultimately he's now in a stable condition. They said his health is okay now and he's in a special cell where he's being monitored. Other revelations we've heard about his involvement in the martial law is, for instance, Kwak Jong-kyun, who's the commander of the Army Special Warfare Command. He's also said that the defence minister gave him instructions for the military to blow open the doors of Parliament to get in and stop the vote. I mean, that's really what happened here, is that the president has implemented martial law in an attempt to seize control of the country, and the one way that that would fall over would be the parliamentarians would vote it down. And we saw all these efforts to try and block that, to try and stop that, and ultimately it didn't go through and martial law was reversed because of the parliamentarians. So the question now is, of course, who is to blame? Well, certainly the defence minister is taking ownership of what happened and the fiasco as what has happened, but there are plenty of other senior leaders as well. For instance, two top police commanders have also been facing a police investigation for their involvement in, this charade from last week.
Yes, James, someone who hasn't really taken full responsibility is the President Yoon Suk Yeol, and we know that his office has been raided. Is there a sense that criminal or legal proceedings may follow soon?
The fact we've had a series of police raids today shows how the pressure is really ratcheting up on President Yoon, and you would expect this highly fluid situation to obviously change now day by day, if not hour by hour, as we continue to progress. Certainly there's a feeling that ultimately President Yoon is the person who made the declaration for martial law. So even if the defence minister is saying, well, it was my idea, well, that's what's being alleged here, ultimately President Yoon has decided he would go through with it. So certainly he is now under investigation. We know that much. We have police officers who have tried to enter the presidential offices today as part of that investigation. He was not present at the offices there. What the People Power Party is trying to do, which is President Yoon's party, is they've announced almost like a transition period. They've said, OK, President Yoon won't hang around for the full 5-year term. He will leave early, and also he's not going to get involved in domestic or foreign affairs. Now, that's a rather strange thing to fulfill when you're meant to be the president of the country here. People are saying that's just unrealistic. So people are saying that's unconstitutional. How can you have a president who is not actually in control? And we know that ultimately, if there was, for instance, an armed conflict, the president is, as the Americans like to say, the commander-in-chief. He still very much has control. So it's a really grey area about what's going to happen to President Yoon. Certainly his party is trying to keep the pressure off the president now, but it really doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon, Girish.
Yeah, but at the same time, James, the opposition says it wants to launch another bid to impeach the president. Do you think a few more MPs from the ruling party could cross the floor to vote with the opposition?
It's going to come down to how unrealistic it is that President Yoon stays in this position. One of the concerns, obviously, from the PPP, the Conservative Party of the President, is that if there is an election, for the presidency, they wouldn't really be in a strong position. So it's a question of how long they can hold on for. At the same time, there is this idea that maybe he should step down rather than being impeached. That would be a more honourable way to go. The other concern is, of course, will he actually be arrested? I mean, that's certainly what the opposition pushing for. We still see protesters out in the streets saying nothing is acceptable unless the president is arrested and charged. So it's really, I guess, a question we're going to, again, have to deal with day by day. The perceptions of those within the PPP. The last impeachment failed because they abstained. And we've even seen conservative newspapers making an absolute mockery of that decision. These newspapers who would normally be sympathetic to the party, just because it's just so bizarre that you have a president who's apparently no longer president but in name only, as a way to kind of deflect attention. So watch this space, Girish. We'll just have to see. As I said, it's a highly fluid situation. It is quite likely the president's impeached on the weekend. It's also possible he's arrested before the weekend. We just don't know, Girish.
OK, it is a space we will all be watching very closely. North Asia correspondent James Oaten, thanks very much.